Hi, good afternoon, all of y'all. Am I audible to all of y'all? Yes, no, something. Can y'all tell me in the chat box if I'm audible? I hope you all know how to use the chat window. Tell me, do you all want me to speak in English or do you all want me to speak in Hindi or a mix of both? Could you all tell me that? It would just help me take the session accordingly forward. Just tell me in the chat window, do you all want me to speak in English or do you all want me to speak in Hindi or do you all want me to speak in a mix of both? English. Thank you, Vishnu. Could the others also respond, please? It would just help me. English. Great. So just give me a second. There was a little technical issue over here because of which I can't open a couple of pages. So in the meantime, till I figure out my system, why don't you all tell me a little bit about yourself? Tell me your name and tell me which year are y'all in. Are y'all in your third year or your final year? And what is your area of specialization? Also, I want all of y'all to have your resume with y'all, or at least a paper or a pen, so that we could make so that you all could make notes of how do you make your resume perfect. Yeah. So quickly tell me your name, which year you are in, and what is your specialization. Okay. I want to know all of that and more till I figure out how do I start off this session.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Vishnu, I'm here only. I'm just opening up the presentation. So just give me 1 minute. There's been some internet issue over here. So just give me 1 minute. In the meantime, why don't you tell me your full name and what is your area of specialization and which year you are in? Yeah, that would actually help me. And thank you, Sheetal, for putting up the information. It really helps. It'll help me make the presentation much better based on what is it that you would want to make your resume in. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. This is Vishnu Shastri.
Yes,
I'm
Vishnu.
currently pursuing third year undergraduation in computer
Okay.
science and engineering, DMSIT.
Excellent. Excellent. So, my name is Resham. Thank you so much, Vishnu, for that introduction. My name is Resham, and thank you for joining me today. I have been an HR for the past 15, 16 years, 15 years to be precise. And what I realized is a lot of students have a lot of skills. Y'all are passionate, y'all want to work in a corporate, but your resume does not highlight these skills. Your resume doesn't come across as being wow. And because of that, your resume actually doesn't get shortlisted. So here I am to help you with all the challenges to help you make a resume that stands out so that your skills get highlighted. So I'm going to take you through a journey of how does a corporate shortlist a resume? How does Naukri work? How do you get a job? How do you crack the interview? And how do you move ahead? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. A couple of things that we'll do. Everyone knows how to do the thumbs up on Zoom. Do you all know how to use the thumbs up icon? Can you all show me how to use it? You all know how to use the thumbs up icon? There is reactions written. Excellent. So there's reactions written on the bar down. If you click on reactions, you get a thumbs up. Okay. Otherwise, you'll have to unmute and tell me yes, or y'all can tell me in the chat box. Okay. All of y'all know how to use the chat box, I hope. Yeah. Y'all can unmute and tell me. Y'all can ask me your doubts at any given point of time based on your resume as well. Okay. So I'm going to begin my presentation. Can it's loading. Can all of you all see the screen? Thumbs up. Thank you, Vishnu.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Sodam. Manoj, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What about the others? Shivang, Sheetal, Vijaya, Deepika, Amrita, thank you for the heads up. Can all of you all see the screen? Yeah, you all can tell me in the chat window as well. Great. Awesome. So tell me, how many of y'all have heard of these companies? Bullhorn, Greenhouse, Workable. Tell me in the chat window, how many of y'all have heard of this company? Have any of y'all heard of these companies? If y'all have, I want to know what is it that they have in common. Any of y'all have heard of them? Not heard. Okay. So all these companies have something known as ATS in common. Can anyone tell me what is the full form of ATS? Any of y'all? What is the full form of ATS? Anyone knows? If y'all don't know, say no. I'll explain to y'all. But ATS is really, really important because this is the base of your resume. Yes, good answer, Vishnu. Applicant tracking system. That's the answer. Now, what happens is a lot of companies, I'll tell you how recruitment happens in most companies. What they do is they put a position, they post a position on Naukri, or they post a position on their website, or they put it out on any of these social media pages. Now, for any job which requires a fresher, they get a lot of resumes. So they would get at least some 1,000 applicants, 2,000 applicants for the same opening. So if they have 30 developer positions that are open, they open it out in the market and they get thousands of resumes. Now, do you think the HR is actually going through each and every resume? The answer to that question is no. The HR person does not go through thousands of resumes one by one. They don't do that. That is where all these companies that I showed you all early come into play. What they do is they use ATS, that is an applicant tracking system. In the system, they enter the top 6 to 10 keywords that should be on a candidate's resume. Okay, so suppose if they're looking out for a Java developer, they would put Java, they would put software developer, they would put developer, they would put JSS script, they would put bachelor's, IT. That is how they kind of pick up about 6 to 10 keywords. All the resumes in that database, all the resumes which match these keywords, those guys get first preference. If those resumes are shortlisted and they're interviewed and people get placed and still they have a couple of more positions, then they again run that search on the system and get the next set of candidates. Now, if your resume is, say, the 30th or the 40th resume, okay, because you've not highlighted all the skills, even though you have the skills, do you think you will get shortlisted for this position? I want you all to tell me in the chat window. Do you all think your resume will get shortlisted if it is at the 40th or the 50th position? Forget 1,000. The answer is no, because the system will pick up all the skills that are first matching, 100% matching, 90% matching, 80%, 70%, and that's how they kind of shortlist resumes. So, what is your chance of getting a job? Y'all finish your graduation, y'all are in full enthu of finding a job. But because your resume is not ATS friendly, that is why a lot of people miss out on the opportunity. Okay, so the first thing you'll have to remember is your resume has to be ATS friendly. So when I say ATS friendly, it should have most of the keywords for a job that you're applying for. Okay, how do you do that? Don't worry, I will tell you towards the end of the session how will I personally give you a call and speak to you and make sure that your resume is ATS friendly. Okay, so don't worry on that. Right now, let's focus on how do you get your resume right. Okay, now what you have to remember is, what is a resume? A resume is nothing but A resume is nothing but it's a formal document which actually should highlight your background and your skills. Now, your background and skills is what comprises of ATS. Okay. Remember, we want your resume to be absolutely perfect, showing all the skills without any typos so that the system gets it absolutely correct. Okay. Now, should you look at your resume and tell me, do you have curriculum vitae written on top of it? Or do you have resume written on top of it? Tell me quickly in the chat window. Should you put curriculum vitae, resume, or say biodata? Should you use any of these words on your resume or on that piece of paper that you're applying for a job? Okay, Sheetal has answered. Anybody else? I want the others also to use the chat window because it will really help me. CV, okay? Not required, I guess. Okay, what about the others? Can you all tell me quickly? Deepika, all the other candidates who are there. Deepika, I'm just remembering that name because it's very familiar with Deepika Padukone. But Vijaya, Pranav, Shivang, Amruta, could you tell me, should you put curriculum vitae or resume on that piece of paper that you're applying for a job? No. So the correct answer is no. Whoever has put curriculum vitae and resume, thank you, Deepika, for the answer as well. All of you all who've actually put curriculum vitae or resume, you should not put it. Okay. Now, why should you not put it? Because is there any other document that you would use when you're applying for a job? You cannot use anything else, right? Your passport, Aadhaar card, mark sheets. You don't use those documents when you're applying for a job. What you use? Your resume. The PDF would obviously have resume written on it. So why mention it again inside? Okay. So whoever has written curriculum vitae or resume or biodata, please strike it off. Okay. Next question. Is it known as a curriculum vitae or is it known as a resume? Quickly tell me. When you apply for a job, do you use a CV or do you use a resume? Okay, some answers are coming in. CV, resume, CV. Okay. So the correct answer is resume. Okay, I'll tell you why. A CV is more for when you're applying for a fellowship, when you're applying for a job as an academician or a dean or a principal. That is when you use a CV. A CV can be 20 pages, 15 pages, 10 pages. It can be really long as well. A resume, on the other hand, has to be 1 to 2 pages. If you are a fresher, your resume should not be more than 2 pages. Okay. Why? Because the recruiter is not going to go through all the things that you've written because it just means it's not concise, it's not crisp, it's not to the point. Okay. So when your resume, make sure it is of maximum 2 pages, not more than that. Curriculum vitae they use when you're applying for a PhD, when you're applying for fellowship, when you want to work for a college. Those are the places where you apply with a curriculum vitae. It doesn't change. A resume can keep changing based on the job that you're applying for. So make sure wherever you've written curriculum vitae, remove it and write resume. Now, can someone tell me what are the main key things that your resume must have? Like you cannot miss this information on your resume. What are the key things according to you that your resume must have? So obvious answer is contact number. Okay, your phone number, your name should be there. Yeah, so name, phone number, email ID. So that's contact. Skills, very good, Vijaya. Skills, excellent, Pranav. Education, yes, excellent, Amrita. Skills, definitely. So there are 5 things that your resume must have. That is your contact number, which includes name, mobile number, and email address. Your objective. Now, I will help you write your objective, but objective is something that you must have. Education, obviously. Job related skills. Any skill that is needed for your job, you must show that. And any internship that you have done. Okay, so these are the 5 things that as a fresher, your resume must always have. Now, how many of y'all have information like permanent address, postal address, marital status, father's name, mother's name, school accomplishments, passport, Aadhaar card? Any of y'all have this information on your resume? Can you all quickly tell me? Any of it. Any of it. Permanent address, postal address, marital status. Okay, great. See, your father's name, your mother's name is not going to help you get your CV shortlisted. Correct? Your marital status is not going to get your resume shortlisted. Your school accomplishments are not going to help your resume get shortlisted. So why put it? When it comes to address, your address, so all of y'all are from Bangalore. I understand all of y'all are from Bangalore, right? No one is from outside Bangalore. Now, if I'm staying in Koramangala and my office is in, say, Hebel, right? A company is based in Hebel. The company is just going to think about what is my travel time. They are not going to be bothered about what is my street number, row number. They don't care about it. They just want to know, okay, this person stays in Koramangala. How much time will he travel? How much time will he take to travel to Hebel? Should we give him a location which is near MG Road? Will that be closer to him? Right? That is the only reason why they want to know your location within the city. Okay. Again, a lot of y'all might want to apply for jobs outside Bangalore. Correct? How will the recruiter know that? The recruiter will know only if you make a mention of it on your resume. So if you have written Koramangala, Bangalore, Karnataka, in brackets below that, right, willing to relocate to, say, Bombay, right, or willing to relocate to Hyderabad. In that case, when the ATS system, okay, remember, ATS system is searching for Java developer and I want it in Hyderabad, even though your resume says Bangalore, but it also highlights Hyderabad, your resume gets pulled up. Yeah, that is how the system works. They are not going to go through each and every resume, correct? And if you've not made a mention willing to relocate to a particular city, then your resume will not get shortlisted. If you're willing to relocate anywhere, okay, make a mention of that, willing to relocate anywhere. But anywhere is very unclear, right? It's very unclear for the recruiter. Tomorrow, if they say there is an opening in Assam, right? That time you'll say, no, I don't want to go to Assam. I thought Hyderabad. So think very clearly which cities you want to go to and make a mention of at least 2 cities if you're willing to relocate. If you're not willing to relocate, remove that line from your address details. Clear? Thumbs up? Understood so much? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Some information will help. Great. Cool. So if you remove all of this, what should you put instead? Right? If you remove all of this information, how else can you make your resume look full? So for that, you can put in your certifications if you've done any certifications. If you have any hobbies and interests, and I'll get to why you should put your hobbies, projects, all final year students, please make a mention of your project. If you are in your third year and you're applying for a job, obviously you will not have any project to talk about. But when you come to your fourth year or when you come to your final year, write about what was the project that you have done. I will explain how do you write about projects, but write which project you have worked on. Okay. Language is known. So language is known. If you know how to speak a particular language, talk about it. So if I can speak English and Hindi fluently, write English Hindi. If I understand, if I'm fluent in Kannada, write Kannada. But if you know just 1 or 2 words of Tamil or Telugu, don't write beginner. It's not needed. If you just are learning 1 or 2 words, but if you know how to speak a language, even if it is a little broken, please make a mention of it on your resume. Sometimes your job requires you to speak a regional language also to communicate with the team. Okay, so that sometimes works as an added advantage for you. And if you have any LinkedIn ID, if you have any ID where you're showcasing your work, right? Put that handle on your resume as well so that the recruiter can go through your profile and can see what kind of work do you do or what is the kind of projects that you have worked on if you've got anything to showcase. Okay, so this is overall. I will get to each of these points. If you all have any doubts, you all can just unmute or tell me in the chat window. Okay, let's begin with your resume. Can anyone tell me what should be the font size when you are writing your resume? What should be the font size? Like, should it be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14? What is a good font size? Okay, okay, okay. So the correct answer, the correct range is 10, 11, or 12. 14 is too big. So 14 would be something like this. You could use 14 for headers, but don't use 14 for your text. Try to keep your text size as 12. Okay. Your header size can be 14. Okay. And your name can be at least 4 or 5 font numbers bigger than the actual font. So if this is 12, this can be 17, 18 also. But make sure your name is at least 5 sizes bigger than the text, because you want the recruiter to remember your name. You don't want him to just forget your name in the middle of your resume. Clear? Second, you have to put your contact number. So like I mentioned here, he's put Indiranagar, Bangalore. If you are willing to relocate, below this only put a line willing to relocate to say Hyderabad. Phone number. How many of you all have numbers, more than one number on your resume? One calling number, one WhatsApp number, one landline number. How many of you all have more than one number on your resume? Can you all tell me in the chat window? Do you all have more than one number? Okay, someone has said not me. That's really nice. Anybody else? Can you all tell me how many of you all have more than one number on your system? Okay, only one. That's two. Very good. So everyone who's joined in late, we've just covered what are the important fields that are supposed to be there on your resume. What are the topics that you should not, what are the pointers that you should not have on your resume? And what are the nice to have fields? And now we're getting into each specific point. Okay, so a lot of people have one WhatsApp number, one calling number, one landline number. Recruiters are not going to call you if they don't get through you in one call. Okay. There are a million of graduates out there. There are a million of engineers out there whom they can reach out to. They are not going to dial 3 numbers for the same person. So whichever number you are available on to answer the call, that's the number you have to put. Okay. No father's number, mother's number, brother's number, WhatsApp number. Skip all of that. Okay. Second, email ID. Now, email address, is there a lot of y'all have email addresses which y'all would have made it in college, maybe in your first year. But when you're applying for a job, it has to be first name and last name followed by the email that you're using. It can be Gmail, Yahoo, whatever it is. Don't use adjectives and don't use, make sure that your email address is actually professional. If I see an email address like K underscore Rohit underscore silver bullet, right? I'm not going to shortlist him. People start forming opinions about you, or K underscore Rohit underscore handsome, right? So it's always better to have a professional email ID. Anyone whose name is very common can add a number, but make sure the number is just about 2 or 3 digits or 4 digits. Don't make it like 115-digit numbers on your email ID. And by the way, I have seen email IDs like that. And that is why I'm sharing my experience. So there was one person, he had his name underscore his full mobile number @gmail.com. So that's why please just have first name, last name, and your email ID. Clear? Yes, you can. Okay. Okay, Vishnu, the email ID is okay, but I would prefer it being Vishnu.Shastri @gmail.com. See, y'all can have multiple email IDs. Y'all can include your birth year also. So you can have, say, Shashi underscore Kapoor 1998 @gmail.com. That's fine. But if I put Shashi Cap 19980304 at gmail.com, that doesn't come across as very professional. Yeah. So just when you're applying for a job, try to make it as professional as possible. Okay. So that the person typing it, yeah. So vishnu.shastri@gmail.com is perfectly fine. If you don't find that combination on Gmail, you can put vishnu.shastri. Maybe your year of birth or any number that's special to you, but not more than 2 or 3 or 4 digits. Okay, maximum 4 digits at gmail.com. Clear? Great. So, understood contact details. Now, objective. So, objective should be personal. Objective is something that should be very personal, very close to you. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you these two objectives. Which one would you select? If you are a recruiter, okay, let's switch roles. If you are an HR person and you're shortlisting a CV and you see these two objectives, which one would you prefer? First one or the second one? Sheetal, yours is fine. Your email address is fine, Sheetal. It's perfect. Okay, number two, number one. Okay, number one. Okay. Clearly, y'all don't read properly. There is a typo in it. There's a typo in both of them. See, such general objectives will get you all grilled by the recruiter. For example, to be a part of an organization where I get a chance to use my knowledge and skills to contribute in the progress of the organization, no, for the progress of the organization as well as myself. These objectives are wrong. Okay, because it shows the person has copy pasted it from the net. Second one, whoever chose option 2, I'm willing to give total support the organization to the organization, but leaving the grammatical mistakes aside. Okay, whoever has written I'm willing to give total support to the organization, if you're in an interview and the interviewer asks you, okay, are you willing to work on weekends, are you willing to work late night shifts, our shifts end at 12 o'clock at night, that time if you say no, the recruiter will say, you have said give total support to the organization, why aren't you supporting us now? Right? Reject. Second, I want to be a part of the organization to use my knowledge and skills in the progress of the organization. What skills do you have as a fresher that you have actually applied at work? You have no skills. We are going to teach you the skills. So why should we pay you for the job then? Do it for free. We are teaching you the skills. This is how recruiters will start grilling you all. Right? So that is why I'll show you another two objectives. Tell me which one do you think is better, these objectives or these ones. Remember ATS? So if you look at the first one, I'm an energetic individual. I create eye-catching designs. I'm looking out for an entry-level graphic designer job. If the ATS is searching for a graphic designer and the keywords put in are designer, graphic, his resume will 100% get shortlisted. Same way, if someone is looking out for an accountant and they're looking out for an accountant, finance based job, that guy's resume will just pop up way faster than the guy who has written absolutely generic objectives like this. That is why look at your objective and see how can you personalize it. If you are looking out for a Java based position, right, looking out for a Java based position, I am enthusiastic, I am a passionate individual. If you really like coding, talk about one trait, one strength that is yours, and try to map it with the kind of career you're looking out for. That way, the recruiter knows that you've not copy pasted it from the internet. You're actually working and you have actually made your resume properly. Clear? So objective is the second thing that you have to keep in mind. Now, moving to education. This much everyone is clear, I hope. You all can tell me in the chat window yes or no if you all have any doubts, okay? At any given point of time. Now, coming to education. I want all of y'all to very carefully look at education and tell me um, what are the mistakes in this table. Are there any mistakes in this table? It's a cropped image from someone's resume. I want you to tell me, are there any mistakes that you can find on this? And is your resume also in a tabular form? Any mistakes? See carefully. Any mistakes that you all can see? Correct. So the alignment is not proper. Bold font. Okay. So he's used incorrect font. So you all should not use incorrect fonts and the alignment should be proper. Okay. There are some more important mistakes in this than alignment and font. Quickly. Okay. No? No? Okay. College and university year. Okay. So first, what's the first column? Educational qualification. Your qualification should never be in short form. Okay. No BTech, BA, BE, BEd. Bachelor's in technology, master's in business administration. Put full forms. First thing. Okay. No short forms. It just shows that you have just not put in enough effort in making your resume. Okay. Second, your institution and university should be separate. You should not club it together. So institution can be your college name. So you can put your college name in one and then the university that you've completed your education from. No need of caps. No need to put Bangalore University, Mysore University in caps. Caps generally shows that you're screaming. So use normal font, unbold, and in normal sentence case. Third, no need to write government college, St. Joseph's High School with apostrophe S. Be very careful that your school names and college names don't have any typos. Fourth, PUC, SSLC, no. PUC is maybe valid in Bangalore, maybe it's not valid in another city. So be very clear, write 10th, write 12th. Okay, not everyone understands PUC and SSLC. You want to make a mention of which board you've done it from, like a CBSE, ICSE, SSC, IGCSE, you can make a mention of that. Fifth, never write first class, second class. The company will never know what is your percentage. You have, even if you have 40%, write 40% over there. Even if you have scored 60%, 65%, 70%, whatever is your CGPA, write it. When you're writing your percentage, make sure that you put the decimal point at the right place. I got a CV a few days ago for review, and the person has written percentage 7.38%. Now, I'm not sure, is it a 73.8% because that's the most logical answer, or it is a 7.38 out of 10 CGPA. So, whenever you're communicating percentages, CGPA score, make sure it's correctly written, double check. Okay, so these are a couple of things that you'll have to keep in mind when you're putting in your education. I'll show you another resume in which he has put in all his information in full form. He has mentioned his city name, he has mentioned his college name, he has mentioned which board he has finished in, 12th, what has he majored in, 10th, if there is any major, you can put it. All I'm saying is whether you show it in a table form or whether you show it in text form, it has to be in full form. There should be no shortcuts. Dates should be correctly specified. Clear? Everyone's clear on this much? Something? Chat window? Yes? No? Because this is really important, guys. For freshers, if you all don't show your education correctly, it becomes challenging for the recruiter and they will not pick up the phone and call you 10 times. A lot of people put BTech. BTech in what? Yeah, there's mechanical, there's civil, there's IT. So you have to be as clear as possible when you're mentioning your education qualification. Okay. Next, skills. Can anyone tell me what are skills? What do you mean by skills? Anyone? Can anyone tell me what do you mean by skills? What is the meaning of skills? And okay, excellent. Good answer, Vijaya. Good answer, Lenovo. I don't know your name. Correct. So it is not communication, it is not teamwork, it is not being creative. Skill is something that you have learned. It can be a programming language, it can be any anything that you can use on the job. Like Vishnu says, it's something that you are an expert at, or something that you are learning, something that you've learned. Okay, Java, C++, HTML, SQL, GSS, script, Python, all of these are skills. Okay, cloud, MS Office, MS Word, all of these are skills. Now, when you're showing your job skills, make sure you don't put wrong information. Yeah, sir, I am expert at Python. Really? Person asks you two questions, you're not able to answer. So don't fake it. Give actual information. If you know it, if you're at a beginner level, say you're at a beginner level. If you're at an intermediate level, say you're at an intermediate level. Don't fake the information on your on your resume. Okay. So is this how you'll show your IT skills? Is this how you'll show your IT skills? Generally, a table form, language, database, designing tool, and you make a mention of it. Is this how your resume has your information? Most students have it either like this, or they put it in the bullet form. 3 months diploma, or done a diploma in something, or done a certification something. Rather than showing it in a tabular form like this or in bullets, I advise you that this is the place you can show it in a visual way. So if I am a recruiter and I see something like this, option 1, option 2, or option 3, I very clearly know whether the person is an expert at something, is at an intermediate level of something, or understands the concept end to end. Which one do you think is better? Is it better to show it like this in a visual way, or is it better to show it in just a plain Excel sheet or in bullet points? What do y'all think? Visual. So this is what is known as a visual resume. If you all have heard this term, right? A lot of websites use this term, visual resume. This is what they do. They take your resume, take the skills, and show it in a visual manner. That's all. And everything cannot be made visual. So only your skills can be shown in a visual manner. So try to make your resume as visual as possible so that people can see it and exactly know how much of knowledge do you have, or what is your rating of yourself for a particular skill set. Clear? This is what is known as a visual resume. So anytime you hear the term visual resume, understand that skills are being shown in a visual manner. So you can use dots, you can use bar graphs, you can use any of these things. Okay, thumbs up. We'll move ahead now. So far, what have we covered? We've covered contact details, all the mistakes, and how do you write your contact details in the right manner. We've covered objective. We have covered your education. We have covered your skills. And now we are going to move on to the project details. How many of y'all are in your final year and have completed a project? Quickly tell me in the chat window. I want to know how many of y'all have done or will be doing a project in your final year. Quickly tell me, yes or no, have you done or have you not done? Have you all worked on any project by yourself? Any final semester students, final year students, or any project that you have worked on? Okay, so that's nice. If you've done projects, great. So third year students also, if you have done any projects, let me know. Yes, it can be a small project also. That's not a problem. Project is anything which is not textbook related, which is not exam related. It is something that you have done. Small, big, medium, doesn't matter. Okay, anybody else? Mini projects. Okay, very good. So all these mini projects that you all have done should be highlighted on your resume. Okay, now a lot of students put information like I have done so and so, I can operate so and so, I have successfully completed. You all generally put just one or two lines about your project. Now that is not how your resume is going to get shortlisted. Whenever you are putting in your project details, you have to make sure it is not in this manner. This is not the right manner. Okay. Even this, if you have attended any in-plant training or on the ground training, or you have done any on the job training for any sort of project, this is not the way to show it. Because in this, you're just mentioning it. You're not highlighting your skill. What have you done in this project is why you should put your project details. So there are three things that your project details must have. First, it should have a title. Okay. What is the title of your project? All your projects will have some title, right? Write that title. Okay. Second, if you're using any tools to do the project. So in this case, this person has used JSP, Struts, Oracle. This person has used a lot of things, right? What is it that you have used for your project? Which technology, which skill? Remember, we are speaking of skills. Which skill have you used for your project? Write that down. Third, how have you contributed? So if your project is, say, making a website, for example, coding for a website. For coding the website, what tools did you use? You used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You used Java, you used JSS script, you use whatever tools you've used. After that, you have to write how did you contribute. So what did you do? I wrote the code, I did this, I searched for bugs, I manually tested it. If you used automation for testing, I used automation tools like XYZ to test my product. That is how you have to write. If you are the team member, if you are a team leader, you have to say, I took lead, there were 5 people in my team, I delegated the work, I made sure that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things were done. At the end, this is how our website came up. You have to write how you have contributed. That is why they have so much of space for project details. So if you have done 2 projects or 3 projects, small projects, make a mention of it rather than saying, I designed a website, right? That is one way of saying it. But if you say designing a website, tools used, how you have you contributed, the HR person knows that you're not bluffing. You have actually done your job. See, a lot of students bluff. Do you want to fall in that category? The answer is no. That is why make a mention of all your projects that you have done, especially your final year projects. Clear? Anyone has any doubts? Okay. See, whether it is competitive programming or whether it is a project, okay, the more you put on your resume, the more the college placement fellow, the corporate who is interviewing you will have more questions to ask you. Even if you're doing competitive programming, you would be using some tool. In your project also, you will be using some tool. The idea is to put the information on your resume. Whether it is, if you have done some competitive programming and if your seniors are suggesting it, they will be telling you that based on experience. So put that. But if you have not done any competitive programming and you've worked only on projects, then make a mention of the projects. The purpose is to put the information on your resume, not leave it out. Clear? Does that answer your question? Should a project which is under progress be put up on your resume? If you are okay, so I am currently doing a project, but it's not complete, and you have an interview call, put it. That's the question, right? So if a project is in progress, but you still have an interview call which is coming up, don't skip it from your resume, put it. Tell them it's an ongoing project. So what will happen is when they see an ongoing project, they will ask you questions on it. Whenever a recruiter sees any of these things, his idea is to ask you questions. So when you put that, he'll ask you questions, and if you can give answers confidently, if you have done and worked on the project, chances of getting shortlisted are much higher. Clear? So even if your project is in progress, please put it up. Don't skip it. Don't get scared. Okay, but know exactly what is your contribution in that particular project. That way the recruiter knows that, see, the recruiter knows you all are college students. Okay, they know you don't have any work experience. They are just testing how well do you answer. That's it. How confident you are, how truthful you are. So those are the things that your resume should highlight. Clear? Now let's move to the next thing. How long does a recruiter take to shortlist a CV, a resume? Quickly tell me in the chat window. How long do you think a recruiter takes to shortlist? 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, 2 minutes. That's 120 seconds, 60 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute, that's 60 seconds. Okay. So a recruiter for a fresher takes only 6 seconds. That's it. Now, all of y'all must be thinking, how can. Yes, Shivang. Don't damn, but yes, they actually take just 6 seconds. Now, tell me, there has to be some strategy, right? I'm a recruiter. Okay. In 6 seconds, how do I shortlist your resume? ATS, yeah. So the ATS is done and they have given me the resume. Okay. That is one part. But interviewers, see, in India, not all companies. So, see, well, I've heard of Naukri. Naukri runs on an ATS system, but there is still a human being who is searching on it sometimes. So, how does he take 6 seconds? Here is the secret. The secret is they just look at the upper half of your resume. That's it. They look at your name. They quickly see visually, remember visual resume? They look visually what can he quickly see. So he does a quick scan of the keywords that are mentioned there. He quickly sees the education qualification and the number of keywords that are highlighted, and it gets shortlisted. That's it. They don't read line by line. If they have 1,000 CVs, how are they going to do line by line? It's not possible. It's humanly not possible, which is why they take just 6 seconds to quickly scan and move it into the shortlist bucket. So I'll show you. I want y'all to eventually figure out, does it take 6 seconds or more? Okay. Now, how does a student's resume generally look? Do your resumes look something like this? Like, I'm not saying the content wise, I'm saying design wise. Is it like generally black and white or in a tabular form? Yeah. What about the others? Y'all can tell me no also. I mean, that's absolutely fine. So most student resumes look something like this, not 100%, but in a table, they show the education qualification, project details, or they write a lot and they show it in bullet points. Now, if a recruiter is going to see 100 CVs or 50 CVs in the same format, he might or might not recollect your name. Okay. Sometimes it's the design that catches their attention. So if you see this guy, his resume has only one color. Okay, so look at above the experience. Don't look at all this. But if he's getting shortlisted for a marketing position, you just tell me in 6 seconds, can you shortlist this Peter Medina's resume based for a marketing role? So marketing, you need marketing. Skills, has done some media experience, freelancing, good. Very easy to shortlist if because his resume highlights the important skills. Same way, if this John Smith is an IT person, it's very easy for a recruiter to kind of shortlist and go through his projects and everything, because it's very visual. That is why it is advisable to have at least one color, and second, make your resume visually appealing. Okay. uh, what will happen if it is visually appealing? Even if I don't remember, so Lenovo, I'll get back to you. I've seen your question, I'll get back to you. Anyone who sees a resume that has color, when you're closing your eyes, will you remember black and white, or will you remember a blue color resume? Right? That is how it is. If you close your eyes, even if you don't recollect the person's name, you'll say, "Arey, that blue color resume was very good. Let me quickly find it." That is how a lot of people also shortlist CVs. They're able to recall the CV. That is why you should try and make your resume visually appealing. Okay, how to make it visually appealing? Like I said, towards the end of the session, I will help you out with it, and help you out with much more than that. So don't worry about it. This much is clear to all of y'all. Can y'all give me a heads up? Thumbs down. Thank you, Vishnu. Other students, you all have understood so much. So, see, a resume with too much color, this is to answer your question. Don't they think don't they think the resume is over decorated? Now, if I take the same resume and I put 5 colors on it, or 2 colors on it, right, or 3 colors on it, it becomes decorative. You tell me, does this resume look decorative to you? Does this Peter Medina's resume look over decorative to you, or it just looks easy to understand, visual and appealing? Right? So look at one color, look at visuals so that your skills are highlighted visually. And that's so I'll show you a couple of other resumes that are also gray in color. Okay. The point is, how do you show that information? Do you all remove the unnecessary information? That is the more important bit about it. Okay, now I'm going to answer a few more questions. So everyone, we've covered the key fields. Everyone's understood. Hobbies. Remember, I told you all hobbies is something that you all can put on your resume. Now, sorry. Hobbies. A lot of people put reading, listening to music, playing badminton. Do you all put hobbies like this? Or tell me, do you all put hobbies on your resume? If yes, what hobbies do you put? I would like to know that. Can you all quickly tell me in the chat window which hobbies do you all put? Quickly. Okay. Okay. Learning Carnatic music, sketching. Okay. Reading, listening to music. Okay. Okay. So whoever has written sketching, okay, dancing, traveling, reading books, listening to music, eating street food. Okay. See, what happens is you have to be as specific as possible. So whoever has written reading, suppose I'm the interviewer and I'm interviewing you. So I will ask you, oh, you like reading? Which kinds of books do you read? People say, ma'am, any book. Wrong answer. Okay. Be as specific as possible. If you like reading biographies, autobiographies, write reading non-fiction books. If you like reading fiction, say you like reading Ken Follett, Sidney Sheldon, Chetan Bhagat, right, reading fiction books of like reading books of the author Chetan Bhagat. That's okay to put, but be specific. Because then imagine if the recruiter also likes reading Chetan Bhagat, then you can have a conversation. Hey, which book did you read? Oh, I read 5 Point Someone. Oh, I haven't read it. You automatically start getting into a conversation. Whoever has written listening to music is a singular noun. Music, there's no S behind musics. Okay. Painting. So someone mentioned sketching, right? Sketching what? Yeah, sketching nature, sketching humans, sketching and inanimate objects, right? What do you like sketching? If you're a dancer, yes, Bharatnatyam dancing is a good thing that you can mention. Don't just put dancing. Dancing to what? It's very vague. Do you dance regularly? Do you like dancing to which kind of music? Okay. Traveling from your college to home is not traveling. Okay. If you take road trips to nearby villages, if you like regularly every weekend going out to say Nandi Hills, if you like going out to the outskirts of Bangalore, right. But if it is just traveling from home to college, that's not traveling. That's not a hobby. That is a requirement. Okay. Watching Netflix, Amazon, movies, not hobbies. That is time pass. Time pass is not hobbies. Okay. Please remove all this watching Netflix and all if you have put any of that. Gaming. Gaming is not a hobby. Okay. Playing PUBG, Candy Crush, Plants versus Zombie, whatever are the other games, that is not a hobby. Okay, you'll get grilled unnecessarily playing online games because the interview will ask you, oh, if you don't have work, you'll sit and play games in the office. No, sir, I'll not play, sir. But you've said hobbies is your playing online games is your hobby. You'll get grilled. That's why avoid. So whoever has mentioned playing online games, please remove it from your resume. Reading books, listening to music is absolutely fine. Make a mention of which author, which genre, that will just help you. Okay. Eating street food is not a hobby, so you cannot put that on your resume. Okay. Browsing the internet and surfing. See, the internet can be used for a lot of things. So if you're using the internet to study something, to upgrade a skill, then it is fine. But people can do a lot of things on the internet which we cannot discuss in this forum, right? So don't put surfing the internet or browsing the internet as one of your hobbies. Clear? Anyone has any doubts about the hobbies that they have put, please ask me. Whoever has put eating street food, please remove it. It is not a hobby. I hope people who have put, okay, learning Carnatic music is good. Yes. Singing you can remove because learning Carnatic music just means that you sing it, right? So learning Carnatic music is absolutely fine. Creating animated videos, yes, you can put it as a hobby. They will ask you what kind of animated videos. Cooking, again, whoever has put cooking, what exactly do you like cooking? Do you like cooking Mediterranean food? Do you cook breakfast, lunch, dinner? It's very vague. So cooking what? Do you like cooking Mediterranean? Do you like trying different cuisines? You can put all of that. Competitive sports, competitive esports. What is esports? You'll have to clarify. Yes. Learning Carnatic classical music since 12 years, no, for the past 12 years. Currently learning under the tutelage of yes, you can put that. YouTube video creator, non technical. Yes, you can put like creating YouTube videos. Uh, Whoever has created YouTube videos, please put a link, a social media link to your channel or to the videos that you have created. Don't just write it under hobbies. Make sure that if you are a YouTuber, please link it to your put a handle. Like if you have a particular channel or whatever, mention that. Clear? Vishnu, what you've put is absolutely fine. YouTubers, I hope that answers your question. Competitive esports. I'm not sure what is competitive esports. You might have to explain me a little more. If it is gaming, esports, then I don't know. But if it is competitive sports like playing badminton, tennis, all of that, that's absolutely fine. You can put that under your hobby. But word of caution, if you write, say, tennis as your hobby, or say easier, if you say cricket is your hobby, then you should know the latest about what is happening. India Australia series is going on. What do you think of the latest match that happened? Do you think Hardik Pandya was better? Do you think whoever was the bowler did a good job? Have your answers ready because generally, when you put hobbies, they do ask you a couple of questions. Clear? Hobbies is clear for everyone? Okay, next. How many of y'all have a declaration on your resume? Tell me quickly in the chat window, how many of y'all have a declaration on your resume? Good, good. Anyone who has a declaration? Okay. So for all those who haven't answered, I haven't received everyone's answer. A declaration, on the resume they put, I hereby declare that I, Resham, have put in all correct information on this resume. That is what a declaration is. Now, you don't need to put a declaration on your CV, on your resume, because a declaration is only and only for sales. If you're selling your car, you're selling your bike, you're selling something, you want to tell them that whatever information is there in this agreement or document is correct. So that is why you should avoid putting a declaration. So all the people who have pinged me separately saying no, very good, you should not put a declaration. So you're doing something absolutely right. Okay. Last bit. Okay. Should I put my picture on my resume? So what we'll do is, I'll show you 4 photos. Okay. I want y'all to tell me, based on the photograph that you see, what do you think about the person? Okay. Everyone's clear? Understood what I'm saying? I'm going to show you all 4 photographs. They'll be marked A, B, C, D. I want you all to tell me whom you like, whose resume would you shortlist if all of them are same, only their photos are different, and why? Okay, what is it that you like about the photo? What is it that you dislike about the photo? Yes. So there is person A, B, C, and D. I want you all to tell me who do you like and why. The why also I want to know. Who do you like and why? So whoever is told B is okay. You can choose any of them, but I want you all to carefully look at these 4 pictures and tell me why do you like the person also. A or B, others are informal. A and B are professional. D, the pic is kind of unprofessional. Okay. Don't look professional. Okay. Any more answers? What do you think about the person? Do you think a smile on the face, okay, not in the face, a smile on the face can give a brief character about the person? Okay. A option is better because it's professional. Okay. So whom would y'all shortlist? Y'all will reject C. C is reject. D is reject. None. One answer you have to give. D person seems fun. See, as students, what y'all are doing? All these comments and all that you're giving me, I really appreciate it. It's really nice. But what are you all doing? You're judging, correct? You're judging the person. B is professional, D is too casual, B looks active, A doesn't look active. What are all of y'all doing? Y'all are judging the person, right? Y'all don't know their skills. Y'all don't know how good or bad they are at their work, correct? But what have you all started doing? Started judging, started making and forming an opinion about the person, started thinking, oh, do you think this is good? Huh? I think B is good. Smile, no, must be friendly. D, she's also smiling, but too friendly. As students, you all are forming opinions. That is what happens when you put your photo on your resume. The recruiter, even before seeing even before seeing your resume, sees your face, and as soon as he sees your face, he starts analyzing it. Oh, she's smiling. Too much smiling. Not professional. Smiling. Maybe professional. No smile. Grumpy. See, what happens is you don't want the recruiter to make an opinion about you based on your face. I might be too fair, I might get rejected. I might be too dark, I might get rejected. I wear glasses, I might get rejected. That is why you should not put your photo until and unless the company has asked for it. Okay, just to let you all know, person A and person B, okay, this person A, and this person B is the same person. It's just without makeup and with makeup. Okay, person C, he's a serial killer. Even though he's such a handsome looking guy, looks good, has a smile, he submitted a black and white photo, he's Ted Bundy, he's a serial killer. Person D, too casual, has a beer glass, seems a little fun, like opinion starts getting formed. She might be a performer, she might be a sales performer, and she's enjoying her day out. That is why on your resume, you should not put your CV, your photograph, until and unless the company has asked for it. A few companies need the photograph because maybe you all are interacting with the international client or the business requires it. That time it's fine. But before that, just when you're applying for jobs, try not to put your photograph. And if you have to put a photograph, background, plain background, no cropped up from Instagram, cropped up from somewhere, black and white. No. Have it in a neutral background, have a slight smile on your face, look into the camera, take a good photo and put it up only if it is required. Yeah? Okay. So, this much you all have understood? Thumbs up? Something? Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you, Vijaya. Thank you, Shivang. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, Amrita. Thank you, Shri. Okay, so I am, if you all have liked this workshop, I'm going to be sharing a feedback link on the chat window. Just copy it and paste it on your desktop on another side. You all can fill it up later, but your feedback on how would you want me to make this presentation better will always help since you all are students. Okay, so everyone has the link on the chat window. Please open it. You all can fill it up later. I still have a little bit to continue of the presentation. Yeah? No, the session is not finished. You all can fill it up in that. Okay, click on that link and fill up the information. Okay, now, so coming to resume templates. So here are two classic templates. Like you all can very clearly see, upper half. Okay, Java developer, all people who are in IT, upper half. Okay, so one thing that I missed, I told you all, remember, resume can be edited based on the job that you're applying for. If you're applying for a Java developer job, you all can mention it below the name, Java developer. Suppose you're applying for a Python developer job. Vishnu, wait, I might have something for you. Just hold on. Anyone who's applying for, say, I've used this resume, say, for a Java developer. Now, this guy is strong in, say, HTML also. Tomorrow, if there's an HTML requirement, I can change this Java developer and make it HTML engineer, associate, whatever it is. So remember, your resume can be edited. Okay, it's not a CV. So edit your resume. A nice thing about this resume is, see, upper half. Quickly tell me, will you all shortlist this resume and how much time does it take for you to shortlist it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6 seconds, y'all would have figured out his skill. How many of y'all actually went down to his high school diploma and read the last line? Most of y'all wouldn't have. Based on this upper half only, client server, web based, JavaScript, Java Strut, J2E, C++ shortlist, right? That is how a recruiter shortlists. So if you have any skills even within your project, so this guy has work history, but within your project, if you want to highlight certain skills, certain tools, make it bold. Your eyes immediately go over there, right? You don't read any of the other things. This is what you must do in your CV. Okay. Here is another thing. Remember, I was telling you gray. See, this guy's CV is only gray, black, and white. But same way, he has pushed all his skills on top, written which position he's applying for. You will not even go till his high school diploma and higher secondary board of education and science. Correct? You will not even read this bit. You will just see this much. By the time you've reached the environment, you've shortlisted. Agreed? How many of y'all think that making a resume in this way is much more beneficial than the plain black and white boxes that y'all have seen earlier? Do y'all think making a resume which has a good design, one standard color, is visually appealing, will help y'all get shortlisted? How many of y'all think that's good? Thank you, Vishnu, for your answer. So just remember, your resume to get shortlisted has to be ATS friendly. The design should be good. You should write it in a manner with ATS friendly words such that it gets shortlisted, and it should be visually appealing. Okay. Now, I'm assuming with this workshop, first step is ready. Where are the projects listed? See, this guy has work experience. So if you have any projects, you can remove this work history and make it project details. Okay, same way. If you, so skills remain, contact number remains, objective remains, skill remains, work history, if you don't have, put project details and your education. If you have internship, showcase it. That is what I said, no, project or internships, showcase it. But don't just write, I have done my internship at so and so. Write exactly how have you, where have you done your internship and how have you contributed in that internship. Clear? Cool. So first step, I'm assuming that now your resume is ready. You've managed making your resume, everything is fine. This much, all of y'all are okay. So first step, everybody has crossed. Now, what do you think is the second step? What do you think is the second step of getting a job? First step is getting your resume. Second step, applying cover letter. Okay. What else? Logical reasoning. Yes, there are a million sites out there which teach you about LR and quant and all of that. So the first job is getting your resume right. Your second job is sending that resume over email. So a good resume and a bad email, nobody is going to open. A brilliant resume and a very badly written email, no one is going to open. So you have to make sure that your resume and the email or the cover letter that you're sending has to be perfect. Okay. Third, you have to crack the interview. Now, for cracking the interview, there are 10 common questions, and then there are some stress-based interview questions. Can anyone tell me one stress-based interview question that can get asked in an interview? It is a stress-based question. Anyone? Can anyone tell me what is a stress-based interview question? Anyone? So y'all must have heard of these interview questions like introduce yourself, tell me about your strength, why should we hire you, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, are you flexible working late nights, Do you have any questions for us? How much salary are you expecting? These are all normal questions which get asked. And there are techniques on how do you crack the interview, how do you crack these questions as well. So these are normal questions. Yeah. So how would you handle undeserved criticism? Who is your mentor? If you had to name your boss, relate your boss or your principal as one animal, which animal would that be and why? So these kind of interview questions that are not expected create stress. But there is a technique to handle these stress-based interview questions as well. Manlo, you cleared all these interviews and you've gone ahead. You get an offer letter. Once you get the offer letter, you have to understand the breakup. Now, a lot of companies, they say 6 lakh CTC. But when you do the calculation, your net in hand is only 20,000 or 25,000. How do you understand that salary breakup? What are the kinds of employments that are there? There is contract, there is freelance, there is part-time, there is full-time. How do you know which kind of employment are you getting into? And after you get a job, can you write correct emails? Because at work you have to write correct emails. You have to make sure that the font is right. You have to make sure business signature is right. You have to make sure you don't make email etiquette. You have to follow email etiquette. You don't break these rules. So do you have answers to all of these questions? I've just answered the first step. So how should I help you answer all these other steps? Anyone, any suggestions? How do I help you apply for a job? How do I help you write a cover letter? How do I help you prepare for an interview? How do I help you understand salary breakup? How can I help you write correct emails? Now, for all of this, okay, for all these steps, someone asked me on the chat window, can I have a recording of this session? You can have much more than recording of this session. What I have done is I have created an e-course, okay? This e-course actually covers all the topics. So I will help you make your resume ATS friendly. You will get access to the e-course for an entire year. It covers all the common interview questions, all the uncommon interview questions. It has 2 ebooks on how do you crack stress-based interviews. And I will do a telephonic consultation with you, 30 minutes for your resume, 30 minutes for cracking an interview. I'll do a mock session with you and I will teach you how do you write proper emails. So all that I have said now in this workshop is available on this e-course for 999 bucks. Because we have tied up with your college, we have spoken to the TPO, the 3000 course, he's requested me to bring it down. So we've brought it down to 999 for you all. So I've shared the link on chat. Anyone wants to buy the course for 999, you can pick it up. We'll be revising this prices by the end of the year. So if you all want to access this and much more, click on the button and you all will be able to access the course. On the feedback link, please register, because what we will be doing is we'll be giving you a certificate for participating in today's workshop. Because you'll have participated in this workshop and have been so interactive, you can expect this certificate in your inbox as soon as you filled up the registration link. Okay, so that is all that I have to say. We run a lot of contests on our Instagram page. So you can follow us on Instagram. It's Interview Pro Plus. That's the name of the course as well. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. But Instagram is where we have all our contests and all our freebies and all our workshop details, upcoming workshop details on that. Okay, so this is it from my side. Do you all have any questions? Can we buy it next year, since we'll be facing recruitment next year? This package is valid for 1 year. So we are in December 2020. It is valid till December 2021. You can buy it next year. I have no problems, but you might not get it for 999. So that's the only problem. Otherwise, that's what I have to say. I'm open to questions. You all can ask me any question you all have with regard to your resume. You all want me to review your resume, you can register and enroll for the course. and I'll get on to a teleconsultation with you all to let you know individually how can you make your resume better and what are the ATS keywords that you've missed out on so that it can be made absolutely proper. Anyone has any questions? Any questions about your resume, ATS? How do you design it? Any questions? No? Vishnu, all of this that I have said is actually available on the link. So if you enroll into the Interview Pro Plus link, you'll actually get this and much more because they're downloadable PDFs, there's video summary. You can actually download it and have a copy of all the ebooks. So once you've enrolled into the course, you can download the entire course and access it. So I think that's an easier way. I can't share this recording with you. I'm sorry for that. Yeah. Any more questions? I want all of you all to fill up your feedback and tell me how can we make it better. How much CGPA matters apart from resume? CGPA is percentage. So how much does a percentage matter? A few companies give a lot of importance to CGPA. Like a lot of IT companies want at least a 60% or a 65% in their final year. So it really depends from company to company. Smaller companies don't look at CGPA as much as the skills as you possess. So it really depends on which company you're applying for. A lot of companies like Accenture, TCS, Wipro, they ask for video resumes. So that's again something else that you might want to look into. How do you make a video resume? So it really depends on which company you are applying for and how do you put it. So I think that's the answer to that question. Yeah. Any more questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap up this session. I request you all to click on the feedback session so that I get your full names correctly so that I can issue the participation certificate. Otherwise, I would love your feedback and stay tuned on our Insta handle. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vijaya. I would love all the feedback that you guys are giving me on the link because my management has to see these remarks and give me a rating on my training. So that would be really nice if you all could fill up that link quickly and give me feedback about how was your session. And if anyone is interested in buying Interview Pro Plus, you all could register for it. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, guys. It was really nice interacting with all of you all. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.